Hello and welcome. In this video, I'm going to show you how to calculate the age pension, including the two tests that are used in the calculation, which are the income test and the assets test, which will determine whether you get the age pension, and if you do get it, how much you receive. And then at the end of this video, I'll also touch on some common methods people use to increase the amount of age pension they receive. So, the age pension is something you receive when you retire. It's a form of welfare payment, and to determine whether you receive it and the amount you will receive, we use two tests. The first test is the income test, which is based on your income, and the second test is the assets test, which is based on the assets you hold. Now, these two tests are separate of each other, so both tests will produce individual results. And whichever of these two results, and this is the most important part, whichever of these two outcomes is the lowest is the one that you will receive. So if the income test, for example, says that you should receive the full age pension, but the assets test says you should receive only 100 a fortnight, because the asset test is the lower of the two outcomes, the income test is ignored altogether, and we go with the asset test as the age pension we will receive. So both tests are considered, and whichever one gives you the lowest age pension is the one that is used. I'll go through an example. I have a random case here with some just random facts about a person, because I think the best way to see how the calculation works is going through an example. So we have a person here, age 70, he's single and he owns a house. He has the following assets, the following liabilities, and this is his income. Here we're going to calculate both tests. To do that, first we have to find out the total amount of assets this individual has. So for the assets test, we need the total amount of assets. However, there's one asset that is not included in this test, and that is the family home. So therefore, to get our total assets that will be included in the assets test, we can take the total here, because these are all our assets. However, the one thing that you don't consider in the assets test is your family home, so we can subtract that from our total assets. So that's the amount we will use for our assets test. For our income test, we use financial assets. So financial assets include things like your bank account and different investments you have. So to calculate that, we will add our bank with our other financial assets. So term deposit, we have a managed fund, a share portfolio, and super. So now we have both our assets and our financial assets, which is everything we need to start the two tests. So let's first do the assets test. So we have our assets, which is 513,000, and I have some key figures up here. To start with, I'll go to the asset test. Now, if you have above these amounts, that is considered excess assets. So this will change depending on whether you're single or a couple, so married, and whether you're a homeowner or a non-homeowner. So depending on your situation, you use different figures. But in this example, this person is, for just this case, is single and owns his own home. That means for the asset test, we have home, single, we use 301,750, which I have up here. So that's the threshold. Anything over that is excess assets. So we have 513,000 in assets, and the threshold for this person is 301,750 because they're a single homeowner, and we get that from this little diagram here, which you can just search up on the internet. So we have excess assets of 211,000. Now, the key is that these excess assets, every $1,000 we have in excess assets reduces the amount of age pension we get by $3. So if we're going to calculate that, we have $211,000 in excess assets. If I divide that by 1,000, that gives us the amount of times we're reducing it by $3 and then multiply it by 3. Therefore, we're having a reduction in age pension by $633. Now, that means our entitlement under the asset test is what we initially receive, which is age pension as a single, right now is $1,116 minus our reduction, giving us a fortnightly age pension of $482.55. Now we use fortnightly because that's how often the age pension is paid. And then with these amounts up here, these are the amounts you get in age pension if you have no reductions as a single and as a couple. So we had a reduction of $633, and this person, for example, is a single. So we go 1,116 minus that 633 to give us our entitlement under the asset test. However, if you were a couple, you would use this amount. All these amounts are shown here. So we have the single amount, the couple amount, that's your combined couple amount, so it's just double the couple each amount. So we have our entitlement under the asset test. We're halfway there. Now we look at the income test. The income test is a little more complicated, so we'll see how we go. So the first thing we look at in the income test is your deemed income. Now deemed income isn't your actual income, it's your deemed income. And if we go and look at this little chart here, it says that for a single and a couple, so again they're different amounts depending on whether you're single or a couple, but the first $60,400 of your financial assets, so we calculated that here, is predicted to have income of 0.25, and anything on top of that, so beyond that threshold, is 2.25%. It doesn't matter what it actually earns. To make things simple for everyone, we have these deemed rates. So again, for the first 60,000, sorry, that should be 400, as shown here, we have 0.25%. So we can multiply this, our first amount, by our 0.25, and then the leftover amount will be on the 2.25%, as shown here. So to get that leftover amount, remember we had 416,000 in financial assets. So we take the amount that we've already considered, and that gives us a leftover amount of 355,600, which adds up to our total amount of 416. So again, the remaining amount goes on 2.25%. So we'll take that and we'll multiply it by 2.25, and that gives us a total deemed income per year of $8,152. But remember, age pension is fortnightly, so we can take that and divide it by 26 because there's 26 fortnights in a year. So we have deemed income per fortnight of $313. Then we can consider our actual income. And as shown here, this person makes $9,100 a year. So we have $9,100, but let's put that to fortnights because age pension is in fortnights, so divide by 26. So we have a fortnight income of $350. An important thing to note is the first $300 of income is ignored from this calculation, and that is most likely done to encourage people to continue working into retirement. So we can ignore the first $300, meaning that our actual work income for the sake of calculating the age pension is actually, after taking out the $300, $50 a fortnight. So we have deemed income of $313 and actual income of $50, meaning our total income to be tested under the income test will be the sum of both of those, so 313 plus 50, so 363.54. Now let's look at our excess amount. So if we look here, for a single, anything over $204 a fortnight is excess income, and for a couple it would be $360. And all that excess income, for every dollar over the limit, which is $204, it reduces our age pension by 50 cents. So I have that up here to make things simple as well. So in this case, we're dealing with a single. So to get the excess amount, we take our total income minus the threshold, which is 204 for a single, giving us 159 excess, and each dollar over is reduced by 50 cents. So we can take that excess and multiply it by 50 cents, giving us a reduction in our age pension of $79.77, which means our entitlement under the income test will be, remember, our age pension payment starts, if there's 0 reductions for a single, at $1,116. It's different for a couple, but that's the amount for the single, minus our reduction, giving us an entitlement of $1,036.53. Now we've calculated under both the asset and the income test. However, if we go back to the basics, we calculate both tests, but we use whichever test gives us the lowest age pension. And in this case, we do get an age pension under both tests, but our lowest one is the asset test. So the test that we will apply would be the asset test, giving us an entitlement of the asset test, which is $482.55. So that would be our age pension in this example. Now a few final things to note. If we're trying to reduce our age pension, so in this case our asset test is the one that we want to try to make so that our entitlement doesn't come as low, a few things that are usually considered are the family home. So your family home is not put into this calculation, so you can have a big family home and it won't make your total assets go up, meaning you're under the asset test, your entitlement can stay higher. Other things to consider, like with this person, if you have any debts. So obviously credit card debt, usually a good thing to pay it off, especially if it's high interest like this. We can take $15,000 out of our bank, pay off that $15,000 in credit card debt, and then all of a sudden our bank account, we have $15,000 less in assets. Not only have we gotten rid of the debt, but our total assets has gone down, meaning that once we calculate the asset test again, because we have less assets, we have less excess assets, meaning that our reduction is smaller and our entitlement can go up. Anyway though, that is the basics of the age pension calculation. Anyway, I hope you found this video helpful in one way or another. Please consider subscribing to my channel if you did. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.